Shanika here with Ebonee Horn, a 2009 graduate of Gadsden City High School. How you doing today, Ebonee?
I'm well. How are you today, Shanika?
I'm good. I am really good. It's good to see you.
You too.
All right, we're gonna jump right on into this. Really quickly, tell us a little bit about yourself, Ebonee.
So, hello everyone. I'm Ebonee Horn. As Shanika said, I am a 2009 graduate of Gadsden City, born and raised in Gadsden. I was educated all my whole educational career through Gadsden City schools. After leaving Gadsden City, I went on to attend Mouse College, where I graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice with a dual minor in Political Science and International Studies. I later went on to Athens State University, where I graduated with a Master's of Education in Career and Technical Education with a concentration in instructional technology and curriculum and instruction. And right now, I am the Director of Career Services at Mouse College.
Oh wow, impressive.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
All right. I'm just gonna jump into some of these questions. Um, this one is kind of an icebreaker.
Okay.
Tell us what one of your favorite moments at Gaston City was.
So I remember the very first, I think it was the very first homecoming. I was in the band in high school, but I wasn't in the band my first year at Gaston City, which was my sophomore year. I ended up missing the tryout or whatever, but I remember being at the homecoming game and seeing the Titan band for the first time. I was like, oh my gosh, like I really want to, like I have to be a part of this. And I remember, like I said, it was our first homecoming. There was so much hype um, around the sports because it was all three high schools had great talent. So everyone knew that it was going to be something great once you put all of those schools together. And I remember we played minor high school. I remember that, and we were losing. We were losing the game. I cannot remember the exact points, but I remember like my family went to the game, me, my grandmother, and my brother. And so we, as the game was kind of dwindling down, we're like, oh, well, we're going to go ahead and, head out. We're going to go ahead and leave, try to beat the traffic. And so we listened to the rest of the game in the car on the way home. And before we made it home, the football team had turned the game around. Like, they came back and won the game. Like, it was literally like a Disney movie. It was amazing. So that was one of my most fondest and like favorite memories from Gaston City. It was everything that everybody thought that the school was going to be. Like, that moment was it. It was magical.
Yes, definitely a time to be at Gaston City.
Yes.
I used to really enjoy going to the football games and being out there and
And that was kind of our thing because we may
yeah,
get down, but you knew that Gaston City, we were coming back. We were going to come back harder. We weren't going down without a fight.
right. It was just a whole different culture there during that time. So I feel you there. I feel you there. Okay. So if you could give yourself your senior self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Hmm. Um, it would be to know that no is not the final answer. And I'll tell you why I say that. So during my senior year, I only applied to two colleges. That was Birmingham Southern and Miles College. My older cousin, who I looked up to, her name is Dana, she graduated from Birmingham Southern. She was the salutatorian of her high school class when she graduated from Litchfield, so she went on to Birmingham Southern. I remembered visiting her as a young child while she was on campus at Birmingham Southern, and I actually visited the campus, and I loved it. And after I finished, my admissions packet and everything, Birmingham Southern and Miles College are both private institutions, and I knew that I would need some extra funding to attend those schools. I didn't get into Birmingham Southern, but I ended up getting a scholarship from Miles. So I was kind of bummed because I was actually, Birmingham Southern was my top choice. Um, and they told me no, but no wasn't the final answer. I ended up going to Miles, and I had an amazing college experience, did some amazing things, met some amazing people who I happen to be working with today. So no wasn't the final answer.
And you went where you were supposed to go, or at least that's kind of my process in life. Like sometimes those other places aren't meant for you, and you went where you were meant to go, and that kind of shaped the trajectory of your pathway now. So
Absolutely.
it all worked out for the greater good. If someone you knew well from high school were to describe you in 3 words, what do you think that they choose to say about you?
Quiet, opinionated, and coach. I'll say coachable.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Quiet and opinionated are two that I don't really hear that often, but I know it's there.
And I know it's kind of odd to put those two together, but yeah, for the most part, especially at the beginning of my at the beginning of entering Gadsden City, it was uh, it was my sophomore year, so it was kind of like my freshman year. I was adjusted to my friends and my routine and my teachers at Litchfield, and then going into Gadsden City with people from Emma Sampson and Gaston High, it was a little bit intimidating because it was just like, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know, like I don't know who's gonna be in my classes, or any of my old friends gonna be in my classes. Um, are the teachers gonna like me? Am I gonna be able to adjust to maybe their teaching style? Am I gonna be able to find my locker? Am I gonna be able to get to class on time? Because the building is so huge. It was just a lot of overwhelming feelings. But there were times when because I'm naturally in high school, I was a naturally quiet person, but there were times where I encountered people, and I did have to kind of educate them on some cultural things. So I think that's where the opinionated part comes in, because I'm like, oh well, no, that's not quite right. Um, this is the perspective on this. So, and then coachable, I had to adjust to like I said, new teachers, and adjust to working with new people. So I was coachable. I had to like have people kind of walk me through that, and I was open to doing that. So
And that's something that I never really thought about because, I came into Gadsden City when it was already like freshman year. So I never
right,
really thought about that transition for those who I think like that first class, they came in their senior year. So they gone through,
right,
and then you guys coming in as, you were babies at, the separate schools, and then you came in a sophomore. So I guess I never really thought about that adjustment and how you had to kind of acclimate to new surroundings, new environments, new teaching styles. So, yeah, that
yeah, it was.
it's like woo, it's an awakening. I can't believe it's been over 10 years, and I like never really truly thought about like how that could have impacted so many people.
Mhm.
And for some, it's harder to adjust to, but you seem to have blossomed there. So okay. How do you think your experiences affirm or contradict with your adjective choices?
Affirm. I think those experiences, I'll say, affirmed as far as, let's say, like being coachable. I'll say the experiences, they built me up. Um, and then as far as like maybe Um, on the contradictory side, or maybe being opinionated and quiet. I don't know. I think some of my experiences, like I said, for anybody who knows the history of Gadsden, we know that um, the demographic makeup of the high schools, um, from the high school that I came from, Litchfield, the demographics were mainly African American and Latino students, and then the other schools were more so like a mixture. Um, Especially, I think probably Gaston High, a mixture of African Americans, whites, maybe like Asians, and students of those different backgrounds. I think that it wasn't necessarily a culture shock, but I did encounter people who they hadn't been around um, a lot of African American students. For instance, maybe their honors history class, maybe they didn't have any African American students in their class, or maybe they did have only a few African American students in their class. Um, I was one of maybe three students in the honors and AP history courses, and it was a little bit, like I said, a little bit intimidating because I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me. And actually, going on, I'll probably talk a little bit more about that. But I think that experience, maybe in the beginning, it might have contradicted a little bit, but as I advanced in the school, moved up to higher classifications, there were more and more people that looked like me in those classes.
Okay. Okay. So we're gonna fast forward to present day.
Okay.
Um, Tell us a little bit more about what you do now. How did you end up choosing this career? And kind of go on and tell us a typical day in your life.
So right now I'm currently the director of career services at Mouse College, and I had no idea. If you told me, so I graduated from college in 2013, which is almost 10 years ago. If you told me in 2009, when I entered Miles College, that I would be working in any form of education, I probably would have laughed at you and would have been like, huh? Like, no, I'm not. So my whole my career goal was to go to law school. And actually that partially happened. So when I graduated from Miles College in 2013, um, there were some transitions and things that I had to do before I could actually start just your postgraduate professional career. So for a while, I worked in customer service, and then was preparing to go to law school, and I eventually did all my standardized testing and got the score that I needed to get in the school that I wanted to go to. So I was accepted to North Carolina Central University in Durham, North Carolina. In August of 2015, I got in my car and I drove to Durham, packed up everything that I could fit in my little car, and I drove to Durham to start law school. However, there were challenges that I didn't really know about as a first generation college graduate, which leads me to be a first generation law student, a student from a limited or low income background, professional schools, law school, medical school, things of that nature are not traditionally set up for students from limited income backgrounds. And specifically being a first generation student for those programs, there are just certain nuances and certain things that you just don't know if you haven't been introduced to it by someone in that area. And normally, people who are not first generation law students, their parents, their uncles, their aunts, someone's a doctor or someone's a lawyer, you have someone that you can immediately seek out to give you that guidance to let you know, hey, you can't work but 20 hours in law school. So, here's some money to pay your rent, things like that. So I had some challenges with finances there and some other family issues that kind of impacted my performance. And so I decided to kind of come back home, regroup. I found myself back in Gadsden, and I got hired at the Job Corps Center working in the dorms as a counselor. Um, I really didn't think that my degree would help me there, but it did. I had numerous courses where I dealt with underprivileged and working with people from certain backgrounds and understanding why they had certain financial circumstances in life. And I was able to apply that knowledge to the students that I was working with. Those students all came from the same similar backgrounds as mine, and they were pursuing a non-traditional educational path. They were coming to get their high school diploma and a trade. And then it hit me, everybody's not necessarily going to go to college. And depending on your life circumstances and what you have access to, you're going to need, maybe different assistance to help you navigate, just getting into a career and getting on your feet, which is kind of what led me into student success. So I spent about 4 years at Job Corps. I worked in numerous roles, residential counseling, career counseling. I coordinated the college program where students at Job Corps were able to attend Gadsden State while there were students at Job Corps. So they were provided free housing, and most of those students received Pell Grants. So they were able to go to Gadsden State for free. They had free transportation, a free meal. So when you come from a background maybe where, you're in the system, you don't have any family, you may be a foster child, you get something like that, you're able to make, a fresh start. So I really enjoyed working with the program. I later transitioned to the community college system where I worked for the Federal TRIO Student Support Services Program. Anybody from Gadsden, if you know Miss Patricia McGee, you know that she worked for TRIO, the Talent Search Program. And that's how I was actually able to tour so many colleges in Gadsden. So I had a connection to the overall umbrella program. So that's what really drew me to student support services. So I worked there for a year and a half in the Jasper area, which is a rural area. So that comes with a different set of challenges as far as having access and just being able to get an adequate education. While there at Belleville, I was recruited by the provost at Miles College, someone that I've known since I was a student at Miles College. They felt that I had the background and the knowledge to relate to the students at Miles College to help them transition from college students to young professionals. So I ended up going back home to Miles College, and that's kind of how I got there.
That's awesome. And I love like how this story kind of did a circle, and you
Yes,
ended up
yes,
back there. And like you said, it's nothing that you ever expected to happen. It's just one of those things, like the path of life brought you there. Because maybe due to your experiences, you were able to relate more to the students. You can help them, you can guide them in ways that some people won't be able to reach them. So that's to be commended.
yes.
Um, it is. Now tell us, what have you learned about yourself since you left Gadsden City?
Um, I've learned that I have the ability to pivot when needed. So, like I said, going back to my educational experiences after graduating from Miles College, that experience, I think one part of me kind of just wanted to tuck it away and, not talk about it, because when I graduated from college, I did do well. I graduated as the valedictorian of my class. And then to go from that to having the experience that I did at North Carolina Central, and on one hand, I thought, I was like, well, maybe I'm not, I wasn't good enough. I I wasn't smart enough to do that. But then I had to just kind of step outside of myself and examine the circumstances and just look at how things are systematically set up, and understand that sometimes the cards may be stacked against you, and there are certain areas that you have certain things that if you knew this, you would be able to perform this way. So I think that ability to pivot has helped me to share that knowledge, so that students like me who are able to, that are graduating as first gen graduates, I'm able to get with them as sophomores in college. Hey, you're interested in going to law school? Well, let's work on practicing for your LSAT now as a sophomore, so that way you can get that high score and you can get, there's money out there. You can get a full ride to law school. We have funds in our office. We can pay for you to take the LSAT, because we know standardized testing and the cost of that can be a barrier if you come from a limited income background. So my ability to pivot from, I guess, an unfortunate circumstance for myself, and to use that experience for good for others.
That's awesome. That's really wonderful that you're able to do that and that you actually do do it. Because it's so many who just sit on, a wealth of knowledge, and they have it, but you're sharing it. You're sharing it
Right.
with others. You're helping them. You're helping them guide their way through life, because so many people are first generation students who just, they just simply don't know. And I'm one of those people. If I don't know to ask,
You don't
like,
know what you don't
well,
know
because
until
people
you
are
don't
like,
know
you
that
have
you
to
don't know it.
ask, and it's like,
Right.
I don't know to ask. So I think that's wonderful that you're there to help, like, well, hey, let's take a couple of steps back. Let's look at this. Have you tried this? And you're the resource that so many need. And I think years down the line, if not right now, you're gonna probably be getting a lot of thank yous.
Oh, I hope
So
so.
I'll be looking forward to hearing those stories. Okay, now I mentioned years down the line. Tell us, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Ooh, that's funny, because if someone were like would have asked me that in high school and in college, I wouldn't have been able to. I don't know what I would have said. But for me now, older and more experienced, 10 years from now, I see myself. I won't say in a particular position or a particular organization, but I would say that I see myself um, in a position that allows me to have a greater impact on students that are from similar backgrounds as mine, and also in a position that allows me to have a greater impact on um, the communities around me, and also the communities that I represent.
Okay. And our Alumni Association slogan has been from one home to another, which we hope will encourage Titans to give back to their community. What does that look like to you?
From one home to another. So, I Gaston City is definitely my home. And Miles College is definitely my home. And I've actually met a few students at Miles, some of them from Gaston. So um, I would like to serve as like a little piece of home at another home for them. Also, giving back. We can't we can't forget about giving back as in our time and in our finances, talents and gifts. So I'm glad the Alumni Association is in existence. I plan to support, and if there's anything else I that I can do, I'll definitely be there to lend my hands and lend my time. But to me, that sounds like a slogan of support and connection. That's what it sounds like to me.
And we definitely need those connections. Most definitely. And then the last question I'm going to ask you, Miss Ebony, is what piece of advice would you give to a new Gadsden City graduate?
Hmm. Lean, lean on your community as well as give back to your community. And when I say lean on your community, if you are, at a point where maybe I don't know what I want to do, I don't know, what I'm interested in. There are so many resourceful people in Gaston. I know people just think it's just small little quiet little sleepy town, but it's not. Like I said, we have a lot of a lot of dynamic people with amazing backgrounds. Reach out; they'll be glad to assist you. I know people in the community were of great assistance to me, even if it was just sending me a card while I was away at school or when I came home on breaks and telling me, hey, well, I talked to your grandmother and, she told me about you making the Dean's List, keep up the good work. We're rooting for you. Reach out to your community and also give back to your community. There's going to be someone that's going to be coming after you and you're going to have knowledge and experience that you can lend to help them. So, reach back when needed.
That is a wonderful piece of advice. And I'm hoping with the Alumni Association that we're able to do that. And many more alumni like yourself will be will be on board and that we're just able to be impactful, be positive within our community and be that source of hope to those who they just don't they don't know where to look. Be the resources and encouragement that they need. And I want to thank you for your time today. Thank you for telling us about yourself and your time and experiences at Gadsden City and um, even past Gadsden City. What led you to being what you are now, who you are now. We are so thankful that you chose to want to share that with us and hopefully encourage others along the way. So thank you, Ebony.
Thank you. I was glad to be here, and I'm glad to know that this is happening. I don't think we realized that we didn't have an alumni association.
No,
It was just, it didn't dawn on me until I found out. I'm like, well, we didn't, because the school was, so new. So thank you for being a part of this and working on behalf of us alums. So I was glad to share with you all. Thank you for having me.
thank you. You have a great rest of your day, okay?
You too.
Bye.
Bye.